What's up? Are we live? I hope we are. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I don't see myself on screen. I hope I'm on screen.
He can't do the show if he doesn't see himself.
No.
He's got to see himself.
Because I'm a narcissist. That was awkward. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. I'm joined by, this is not Adam Coons.
No.
I know it's a little confusing. Might be, but it's not. It's Mr.
In 40 years, it could be.
It's Mr. Don Lombardi. Now, if you guys don't know who Don Lombardi is, then where the flip have you been?
You didn't watch the video for the last couple of minutes.
You haven't, yeah.
What did you say about me? I'm
the illustrious Don Lombardi.
No, you said something in the video.
Oh, you're a beast.
I'm a beast, right.
Yeah.
So now this is live. Beast
Don
Lombardi.
the Beast Lombardi in the house.
Adam is sick. I was walking by, and that's why I'm here.
And we're just like, we just pulled Don in because that's how we roll. But yeah, Adam is sick at home, which is why Don is joining me. But for those of you guys who don't know who Don is an absolute legend. Started EW a long time ago, has been giving lessons for a very long time. You've received lessons from some of the greatest drummers in the world.
Fortunately, yeah. At early days, I was able to get lessons from some of the great drummers. Obviously, I've been so busy in this part of my life, I haven't been in touch with the drums that much unless I had a screwdriver in my hand or something. But and we have some fun ones that we did here. When you were a young blout and you came over here.
For the first time in 2011, yeah. That was incredible. So my point is, if you guys have any, I almost want to say any history/technique-based lessons, then there's never been a better time to ask those questions. So first things first, please get into the chat as soon as possible. It's on my left-hand side, your right-hand side. It's right there. Get into the chat, choose a funny nickname, and whoever asks the best question or chooses the funniest nickname, will win this lovely Toka Cajon. At no charge, we'll send it right to your house.
We'll do a Cajon a week for the next couple of weeks.
Oh, awesome. So this is the first one. So not a small prize, actually a really, really cool prize. So please choose a rad nickname. Keep it funny, keep it entertaining. But more than anything, I think ask good questions. We would really appreciate some really good questions from you guys and insightful questions and not what kind of clothes we wear or what food we ate today. So
we already got a big hi from Adam. So big hi back to you, Adam.
Oh, Adam, who's at home.
Yes. He's obviously not too sick to watch.
Yeah, which is good. It's good news. Cool. So if you guys can start asking questions as soon as possible, that'd be great. Don is going to keep an eye on the questions. I'm just going to quickly break down something really simple for you guys. That's usually how we start. It won't be longer than 5 minutes. So if you guys can just ask your questions as soon as possible, then that'll improve the chances of us actually getting to the questions. So first things first, really simple pattern. I get asked about this all the time, and the reason why I actually have this notated out and kind of ready to teach is because I recently recorded some lessons on some patterns that I've used in covers in the past. I'm really excited to launch those relatively soon. But this is just the little linear groove that I play in the verse of Try It Out by Skrillex, which is a cover that I did about a year ago. And it's a dubstep song, so there's no acoustic drums in it. So I wrote this for the cover, and I felt it kind of fit quite well, made it sound quite cool. And so this is something that I think it's kind of my foray into linear playing to some extent. So it's very simple because it's one of the first things that I wrote that was like exclusively linear. That's why it's very simple. So I thought this would be a good place to start. So basically the cover, the pattern is played between, it's a very simple kick, snare, hat pattern, but I use my two stacks. I've got a high stack on the left-hand side, or like a lower stack and a high stack on the right-hand side. Obviously, I don't have those now. So I'm just gonna play everything on the hats, but the whole groove, which I'm not gonna break down. I'm just gonna break down the core of the groove. You guys can figure out the rest very easily, I know you can. So the whole groove is this. Let me just play the whole groove at the tempo of the song. Actually, that was a little bit slower than the tempo of the song. If you play it a little bit faster, it gets even more funky because of the doubles that you're playing between the kick and the hands, the kick, kick, left, right. So let me just play it a little bit faster so you can hear how that affects the feel of the groove. So that's that's kind of the whole groove. I do play slight variations of that throughout the cover, but the core that I want to just break down for you guys is a one measure, essentially a one measure pattern that just repeats. And I'm playing almost every 16th note. So it's essentially 16 notes, and just one of them is a rest. So I'm playing 15 notes throughout this pattern. And basically what that sounds like, let me just isolate that by itself. It sounds like this. Let me just see where I want to start. Yeah, there we go. And like I said, that is pretty much as simple as it gets. If you can get that, if you can come to grips with that, then you can definitely play this pattern, no problem. What makes this sound especially funky is the fact that I'm doing something really, really simple, which is just left, right, kick, kick, which everybody can play. But I'm not starting on the left hand, which is what makes this kind of sound interesting. I'm not playing it evenly across the bar. What I'm essentially doing is starting with the second kick. So if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So immediately that feels different. It feels like kind of more like a gallop. Mm-hmm. It's way more funky. It's way less predictable, I think. And that's what I'd say kind of grabbed my attention in the beginning. Was when I heard that, and I was like, that kind of sounds a little groovy. And so then the second part is just an accent with the left hand on the snare, then that little rest, and then I just go right, left, right, right, left, left. So very slowly, here's the sticking. And then if you speed it up, so once again, super simple. The biggest thing would be to stay in control of the double on the kick while you speed it up, and to stay in control of the two doubles on the hands when you speed it up. But it's not a complicated pattern at all. Like I said, it's one measure, 16th notes, and then playing 15 notes. There's just a little rest after the accent with the left hand, right before I play the double. So I go left, rest, right, left, right, right, left, left. And then just that little funky little gallop on the foot. But it's very simple. And like I said, I do some variations through the cover, but it's essentially just that split up around the kit using different voices.
Could you play the whole pattern just on the snare drum? You got it so even. That might emphasize to some younger students out there, instead of moving around the drum set at all, just play your hands on the snare drum and the bass drum. Okay,
let's see. Where do I start?
I think.
That's a very good point.
If you're working on that.
Yeah, just to break down the sticking just on the snare drum.
If you don't get it even there, you're not going to get it even around the rest of the kit.
Very good point, yeah. And then you can start splitting up the voicing across the kit.
But I'm extremely impressed about something.
What?
Which I'll bring to note. The way you're playing the grace notes in your left hand. Are you even aware? It's totally different than you used to.
Well, I mean, I've spoken about this.
You're opening your fingers down in order to play them.
Yeah.
Not using your wrist, and they're coming out so clean.
Oh, thank you. That's crazy to hear that from you, because yeah, you haven't seen me play in a while.
No, I haven't.
Which is crazy. But the interesting thing is when people ask me, like, what are the biggest things that had the biggest influence on your playing? I always say, my first lesson essentially was from you when I came here in 2011, and I remember saying that I keep dropping the sticks, and dropping the sticks and my ghost notes always have the exact same volume. I never play them softer, and you said focus on, instead of just using your forearm, use your wrist and your fingers.
Yeah, you're opening your fingers down.
Yeah, and I started thinking about that, and so cool to hear you see that.
It's totally different. I mean, night and day difference in sound. Because if you use it with your wrist, you're going to be playing like the first two notes of a crush roll.
Yeah.
Instead of.
Yeah.
You can get those close, but it's like really, it feels like you're playing it and adding to the beat rather than ending the beat with it.
Absolutely.
It's like up.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and you can't do that. Thank you very much. You can't do that if you're not aware of it. And I think that's the biggest thing where you were like, there isn't just one way to play ghost notes. There's many different ways, but the three biggest ways. And then I kind of just started looking at my hand, and I started noticing what was happening. So it's crazy how that has come full circle.
Any ideas about your opinion about dark symbols versus bright symbols? Oh. Funky nickname. Is the nickname of the funky nickname guy. He's not overly creative, but he's always here, I know.
He's really trying for that cajon.
Right.
I was all about the bright symbols when I started. The brighter, the thicker, the better for me when I started playing drums, and now I still like a relatively bright and articulate ride and hat sound, but I love crashes to be just dark and washy. Not like insanely dark, because I still love playing rock and funk and styles where you kind of still want the cymbals to cut, but I definitely like, I mean, this is a great example. It's like the Artisan series is really like, it's not super dark, but it's kind of like, it's got that dark overtone. It still cuts though, it's still got articulation. I would say that's kind of where my head's at now, but it's all about personal preference, I'd say, in terms of what sound you want and with who you're playing and what musical setting and what genre.
W-A-W-A-W-E-E-W-A.
Can you try to pronounce that?
Sure. I think it's someplace in Yosemite. Wawa-iwa, something. Anyway, obviously an Indian.
Yeah.
But the question is, any ideas on improving your independence?
Oh, gosh. This is usually a question that I would pass off to Adam, because
I've got an idea.
Awesome. What do you
Are you passing it off that fast?
I'm passing it off to you immediately.
The question would be what level you're at, I think. But there's a couple things on Drum Channel that comes to mind right away, which is in technique lessons. There's a whole series of lessons that Ralph Humphrey gives. If you really are geeky and you have a lot of practice time, that breaks down 2-part, 3-part, 4-part, all at the same time. But for just playing, just play a rock beat. Play the right hand part. Now play the other right hand part.
Oh yeah.
Now take the stick out of your hand.
Which one?
Your right hand.
This one?
Yeah, take it out of your hand. Now play this right hand part. Yeah, that's the key, I think, to independence right there. And Chad Smith has a lesson on the site, which you're well aware of.
Yeah.
It's just the idea that you're not playing every note. So you're actually playing 1, 2, 3, 4, but
Absolutely.
You're hearing 1 and 2. So if you get into the idea that you're doing 4 things at once, it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And in essence, no drummer is. So
yeah.
It's called the outside release or the upstroke. It's in Chad Smith's lesson number 1. But that's the key to improving your independence. Because you really you're here. What'd you do?
What do you mean? I took the stick from you.
Yeah, but you didn't. You reached your hand out, you opened. This is like lesson 1 with Freddie Gruber.
Oh.
You open your fingers, you moved it. You did a million different things without thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So independence is the idea of getting one limb going automatically.
Yeah.
And a great key is once you get 3 things going, try and have a conversation. Because that way you'll be freeing your mind from thinking about what you're doing. All of a sudden you'll just start, the body motion will just kind of take over and it'll be a repetitive motion.
Yeah.
And it'll be automatic. Then you can start doing other things which you can do, so well, between adding the hi-hat in or the left hand and the bass drum at the same time. But the main thing is just think of it as playing one motion, up, down with your right hand, and then work everything else around that to start with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. I was going to say something along those lines, which is the way I think what you said exactly what I was going to say, but just in a way more eloquent way. Because the way that I approach it is just to make one thing, or maybe even 2 things, but start with making one thing a constant, so you know it's not going to change. And it's something that's very simple. I'm curious to hear what you're reading. But like, especially the right hand, if you've been playing for a while, then that's the easiest thing to lock down is the right hand. And then you can start improvising with your foot or with your left hand, but if one thing is locked down, you establish some form of independence. Now, if you can lock 3 things down, then things get really cool.
They're going for it here. The name is, this could be it, Send Me the Cajon. That's direct and to the point.
That's kind of the front runner.
That could be in the running.
Very subtle.
And it is what we just talked about. Can you elaborate more on the wrist versus finger sticking for clean ghost notes? The only way we're a little bit at a disadvantage here is not knowing where the close-up shots are.
Yeah.
You know what?
Actually, last week's Q&A between Adam and I, I mean, he did a lesson right after our Q&A as well, where he went even deeper in depth. So if you can check that out, that'll answer that question in huge detail, because that whole lesson was on ghost notes and on...
The lesson we did, where is it on the site? Do you know?
Which one?
I'm not sure. When we sat down and I actually broke it down for you at the 2 practice pads.
Oh, yeah. So that was a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's where we actually had close-ups of the finger motion.
I think if you just search, I mean, the catalog is so big, I think if you just search for ghost notes, but if you would...
If you can see it in kind of a wide shot here, maybe, the difference would be dropping your hand from your wrist or your whole arm, as opposed to just opening your fingers down.
Yeah.
So you play the note and then you open your fingers to get the ghost notes. Instead of, it's, that way you can actually get the second note even or louder than the first, as opposed to the other way. Instead of da-da-da-da, it's da-dum.
Yeah.
And they end up very even. So it's a matter of opening and closing the fingers.
Yeah.
I hope that answered that a little bit.
Yeah, and last week we kind of spoke about the different fulcrum point and the weight that you're using. So you can, and Adam had this great example where you want to play singles, use your whole arm and do that, do that, do that, and do that. And you can immediately feel the weight just change all the way through. And so that's a very good indication of volume. Like if you want to kind of play softer, then I mean, the softest you can play is just by using the weight of the stick, just kind of just opening your hand and just letting it drop. And the loudest you can play is by using everything and kind of having that whipping motion. So everywhere in between, there's different ways of playing the ghost notes.
That's the degrees, the way a lot of the teachers who taught the drummers who I aspired to, or the younger drummers that played and aspired to them, who you aspire to.
Yeah.
Basically, the teaching technique was exactly what you said. It was fulcrum, wrist, forearm, and fingers.
Yeah.
So you do exercises that would teach you how to use your fingers, your fulcrum, your wrist, and your whole forearm.
Yeah.
And that was, putting all those together is, you do it naturally really, really well. But working on any one of those will help you do any particular thing you want to do as far as technique, playing really soft, playing really fast.
Absolutely.
It's a combination of that stuff.
I remember now, it was called Building the Machine.
Yeah.
That's the name of the lesson we did.
Okay.
So if you just search on Drum Channel, Building the Machine, I think it'll pop right up.
Can you play a linear beat using toms instead of the hi-hat? Linz rocks, and Linz does rock.
Well, let me take exactly the pattern that I showed you guys and just split that up across the toms. Cool. Maybe let's see. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out which. I think maybe playing the toms in between the kicks. So instead of going, I can go. Let's see what that sounds like. If you go. So that's like just applying exactly the same sticking to the toms, and at the end I played everything on the toms. But what sounds cool is if you kind of keep the main groove going and just supplement 1 or 2 notes on the toms. I think that's usually kind of where it really starts becoming cool. And I think that's kind of where the line starts blurring between playing a groove and playing a full. That's one thing that I would play as a full somewhere in the song, but not really as a groove because it's a bit too busy. But I think, yeah, linear patterns are the jam. They're awesome. They sound really cool.
So I'll see if you want to answer this one. It
Okay.
says, hey, hi, Cobus, has to do with whether you want to audition with somebody or not.
Oh. Yeah, I get that all the time.
I know.
Yeah. Well, maybe let me just answer that. So it's about the whole Avenged Sevenfold thing. And for some reason, people think, and I appreciate the support, but for some reason, people think I should play an Avenged Sevenfold. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm good enough to play an Avenged Sevenfold. I wouldn't really want to do that audition because it's intense, man. It's like they play some really difficult stuff, especially double-based stuff that I kind of have to cheat my way around using double. So I am very content just listening to Avenged Sevenfold's music and being a huge fan of the band and not playing drums for them, to answer that.
Any ideas on exercises for gaining more accuracy when you're playing around the kit?
Ah, cool. One thing, I would love to hear what you have to say as well. But one thing that I've been trying to do when I practice is to decrease the area of the thing that I'm trying to hit. You know, so we're always talking about the fact that the drums sound. Well, I guess best is kind of a subjective term, but usually 99% of the time, the best place to hit the drum is right in the center. If you're thinking about what the snare sounds like versus. Like you get the most tone from the drum when you hit it right in the middle. And so you're always kind of aiming for that, however small you want to make it, right in the middle of the drum. But the drum is very forgiving because it's big. So if you miss the target, it still sounds good. And so what I try to do is I try to find things around the kit that are very small to hit. And the smallest things are usually the wing nuts of the cymbal. So like a really good exercise sometimes is to kind of make your way around the kit and try and hit like really small targets. And this is not a musical exercise at all because they don't make a particularly pleasing sound, but it's really just an accuracy exercise. So if you go, I think that's a really good exercise because every time you mess up, you can hear when you mess up. And then when you start speeding it up and you start playing a little bit louder, maybe it takes a little bit of a toll on your sticks, but it's a very good exercise in terms of improving accuracy. And then also just hitting the bell. Bells are the cymbals. That's a very small target, and there's a distinct difference between and. So you can immediately hear if you hit it or not. And then start incorporating that kind of stuff into grooves, like into fast grooves. See how quickly you can use a very small area of the kit. So maybe like the bell into a groove. So you can go, let's see. Hitting the crap out of that wing nut. But that's another really good exercise while you're playing, is to try and hit small areas around the kit, I think.
If you practice for a half hour on hitting the wing nuts, when you play, you're going to probably end up hitting the wing nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very clever. I've never heard anybody think about doing that.
Cool.
Small areas. Thomas Lane was recently here, and we filmed a whole bunch of lessons that we're going to be editing. But he brought up an idea where take the things that are the furthest apart, like go 16ths between your hi-hat and your floor tom.
Oof.
Get the things that are the furthest apart.
That would be so difficult, yeah.
Work on those first.
Yeah.
Maybe try just between the floor tom and
just try 16s.
16 between the... You play like 4/16 over here and then go back. That left hand is just like...
It's hard, yeah. It's really difficult, yeah.
But the idea, I think, is good because if you get that distance, everything else is going to be that much more comfortable for you.
Absolutely. That's another thing when I do the double stroke sweep. I don't have a crash on my right-hand side, but just doing doubles and then trying to see how far you can extend the first two notes. So instead of just going... And then finding a splash that's really far away, or a china or a bell, and seeing if you can kind of do that same fluid double motion and not have it become choked. if the distance increases. But that's also a really good exercise.
The other thing that he brought up too, which I thought was really good, is in doing what you're doing there and playing 16ths, going from the hi-hat to the floor tom,
Yeah.
Or anywhere around the kit, it's kind of a mind game, but you don't want to think about hitting one part of the set and then another part of the set. In other words, just play like 16ths on the snare drum, just open, real loud, kind of open. All you want to do as you're moving around the drum set, Thomas was saying, is get the rest of your body to get your hands over there.
Oh.
You don't want to think that you're playing 4 over here and then playing 4 there and 4 there, like you have to get the sticks from one place to the other.
Yeah.
The sticks are just going up and down because it's got to be even.
Oh, that's right.
So it almost like doesn't make any difference where you end up. You're just going to get your body motion.
I see.
Which is why when you see people do that, they're always leading from one way to the other. You're leading that way and going that way.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're hitting that one and hitting that one and hitting that one.
And I think you think about somebody like Tony Royster when he starts playing at that insane speed.
You see his body motion exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely, but this never changes.
Right.
Yeah, it stays perfectly even.
They could be, the sticks kind of don't know where they're going to come down next. It's just wherever your body happens to swing and end up.
Yeah.
That way you keep it even.
Exactly.
That was a good point.
I think let's take.
Chunky yet funky.
Oh, that's okay. You guys are bringing the A game. I have to say, the nicknames. This is the best nicknames ever. I feel like give me the cone or chunky yet funky.
Obama Ma.
Obama Ma.
Obama Ma. Any exercise for building speed with doubles around the kit. And Stephen Hollywood had an interesting one too. He's playing a lot of gigs now where he's going into clubs and having to use house kits where the heads and the other things are really bad. He said, have any ideas on what he should do? Should he just scale it down to kick and snare when he's in a situation like that? That is always I mean, drummers at every level.
Yeah.
Some of the best pro drummers are dealing with like really bad backline kits sometimes.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of is show up with an extra set of heads and get there early enough to where you can tweak it.
If it's that important to you, I'm kind of lazy, I guess. So in that scenario, I would scale it down. I would go down to a 4-piece kit at most, and then I would show up early enough so that I can at least tune the kit, do my best to tune it so it sounds better. But otherwise, yeah, you just have to lower your standards, man. That's the tricky thing, and I understand the frustration because I'm the same way. What is the other question?
Accuracy around the kit. We already answered that. I just gave you Chunky yet Funky's name.
Oh, okay.
We did that. Good question.
Let's
from Annan2422.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is just kind of one I would like to know, and they're asking it also. What type of music do you like the most? Have you ever talked about that?
I haven't talked about that in a while. Gosh, that's a tricky one.
What did you listen to driving out here today?
I listened to Uncomfortable by Andy Mineo, which is full-on hip-hop. It's like just a rad hip-hop album. That's probably the last thing you expected to hear. I enjoy a very wide variety of music. I'd say there are very few, no offense to anybody in the area, especially in the room, but like really progressive jazz is not my favorite.
I'm the only one in this entire room.
I know.
But progressive traditional jazz is
gorgeous.
You know what I grew up with, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm just treading lightly.
The knowledge of jazz, the swinging knowledge of jazz, which you have naturally in your playing, by the way.
Thank you. I don't spend nearly enough time on that, but
no, you don't.
No, I don't. But I'd say at the moment I'm listening to. So I do like some hip hop. I'm listening to some hip hop. White kid from South Africa, just jamming the hip hop in his Nissan Altima, and then also. I always have liked just very atmospheric, epic, kind of emotive music, whether that be like stadium rock or like space rock, if you're talking about like Angels and Airwaves, or even like there's this guy, Christopher Franzen, I think he's from Denmark, I believe, but he makes music under the name Lights in Motion, and it's like instrumental music, but it's super emotive. And it's just the best music for me to drive to or to do emails to. I really enjoy that. We Came as Romans is kind of I'm on a big We Came as Romans kick right now, which is like kind of metalcore, I guess, and then some funk. Love me some funk. So it's really anything. Yeah, very wide range of music.
You're going to be doing a show coming up. You'll have to watch to find out when it's going to be
Yes.
with Duncan. Tell him about that.
So Duncan from the Newsboys is gonna do he's gonna hang out. I think he's gonna do like a DW social media takeover maybe.
A little bit. We're going to do
Instagram.
some stuff, yeah. But we're going to do a live chat with him.
Yeah.
We'll do. Maybe he'll sit down and play.
Yeah, we might do a jam. We're still figuring out the details, but Duncan Phillips from the Newsboys, we're gonna hang out and talk music and.
He's totally stoked to meet you.
Oh, I can't wait either. That's really cool to hear.
In 2 weeks, October 3rd, which is a Saturday coming up,
Yeah.
we're both going to be at
The Guitar Center in Hollywood.
Guitar Center Hollywood. If you're anywhere in the area here.
Please come and hang out. That would be so rad.
Yeah.
So
special day there, special things going on.
Yeah, rad
A lot
things
of fun.
going on.
Yeah. Royster's going to be there too.
Oh,
Keltner's supposed to come by. Trevor Lawrence supposed to come by. So it should be a fun.
Dang.
And a lot of other people.
Wow, okay.
I've invited.
Now I'm excited and a little nervous. Now it's gonna be rad. So definitely come and hang out. That's the 3rd of October.
Yeah.
If you're in the area, please come and hang out and join us at
Guitar Center Hollywood.
Guitar Center
There's
in
a lot of
Hollywood.
them around here. The one in Hollywood.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Who do you think?
I kind of like the lack of creativity, but the directness of.
I know. Yeah, give me the cajon.
Send me the cajon.
Send me the cajon.
Send me the cajon.
Money.
Okay.
That's great. So send me the cajon. We're gonna send you the
Send me the
cajon.
cajon's got it. That's no question.
You asked, we listened. So thank you guys so much for seriously though, thanks for awesome questions.
Yeah, it was good. I'm putting up also, we had a great roundtable with Keltner and Thomas Lang and Tony Royster.
Oh,
and
sick.
it's going to be up free for all you guys watching here for all weekend, all 4 episodes.
Oh,
Tony
gosh,
and
check
Jim,
that out.
it's very inspirational. It's really, really good knowledge and inspiration.
Yeah.
It's good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'll tie Adam up sometime. This is the most fun I've had all week.
Oh, we should do this more often. And I love the breadth of knowledge you bring with regards to technique, especially because I feel like we overlook that so often and focus on patterns and chops and things. But building the machine, that's what it's all about. Like I said, if people ask me what's the thing that changed when I'm playing the most, it's literally it was an hour 45 minutes in your office where you just on a practice pad showed me the different ways of playing grace notes.
You got time to practice. We'll do more of that.
Awesome.
That was the beginning.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, 4 p.m. on drumchannel.com, and have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, here's a great jam coming up, by the way.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
Check it out.
sick. It's sick too.
Cheers.
First came Earth, then came man, then came drum jams.
Okay. 1, 2. Was too fast, I think. Was it too fast?
It was way slower. We played it faster than that.
Oh, really?
Hell yeah.
Okay.